while yes, you can build curiosity and it's great, you also want to make sure that what you're building is valuable to your end users. Sometimes people can miss the mark on that. They're very focused on kind of the top-down news, like they want to make sure corporate's connected with the non-desk workers and leadership's connected with the non-desk workers. But employee-driven content is where you're going to get the most value.
Today we are with Heather, and what we're going to talk about today is, okay, you're an enterprise and you've decided to move forward with the branded employee app. What are those key things in mind that we have to accomplish? Heather, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And we're just, okay, it's kickoff day. And in your experience, I'm a large enterprise. You're probably talking to the head of internal communications. I've got my priorities. What are they?
Yeah, so kickoff is always really exciting for us on the customer success side because it's our first kind of real connect with the customer. And that's kind of where you start cultivating the relationship and the trust and building and things like that. It's a big project. It's a big undertaking for a company. The implementation process, there are so many moving parts, technical moving parts, administrative moving parts, branding, design, content, structure. And that's not even touching on how do your users log into the app? How do your users download the app? There's a million moving parts when it comes to the deliverables to get your app ready to invite your users into it. There's so many moving parts before that. So during the kickoff, we try to give high level, not scare them too much, and try to get them to focus on the pieces that are going to get them where they want to be based on their timeline. It doesn't always necessarily have to be getting the mobile app in the app store to get it published. Maybe they want to do a soft rollout with the web app first. So then we're going to focus on kind of the branding and the design and the layout of the web app. So we kind of cater it depending on the customer, what they're looking for, how they're planning to do their rollout, and who's involved in the project. We work with a variety of teams and leads of teams. Sometimes it's all technical people, it's all engineers and IT people. Sometimes it's no technical people, it's all marketing, HR, comms. So it's really, and plus you add the addition of the size of the company and the industry of the company and the use cases and their personal goals, their business goals. So it's really like catered to who the customer is and when they're coming in. And really the kickoff is about building trust and laying out the project ahead of them so they kind of get a high level understanding of what's to come. As mentioned before, there's a million moving pieces during the project phase, so we don't try to get them too inundated at the start because it can be quite overwhelming. And a lot of the deliverables tend to have separate, very in-depth conversations regarding the specific topics. So it's all deeply covered through the implementation process.
And what would some of those deliverables be? Like the ones at least that are like, okay, well, these you can feel the excitement, the energy, like, okay, I can't wait for this milestone to be accomplished.
Right. I mean, the biggest milestone always is getting the app to have it downloadable. So we're not even talking about having users know about the app and download the app, but like having the administrative side and the app managers themselves have the mobile app in their hand. That's always like the biggest milestone.
So being able to open your phone and see like there's my company.
You see your branding. At that point, Staffbase has pretty much been removed from all the branding. You see app names are such a big conversation internally on the customer side because like that's what you're promoting. That's what you want your users to see and remember, the colors, the name, the graphics, all of that. So it's really exciting to have all of this built up and then finally be able to download the app and then see it launch and see your launch image and, oh my God, it's actually here and happening. I get quite excited about it as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And do you find, because you mentioned earlier that sometimes they'll do a soft launch, and so even if it's just the admins that have access to the app and that excitement's there, do you find that is a more successful tactic to first make sure that the admins can see it, play with it, rather than doing like ripping the Band-Aid off, like, okay, we're all live, etc.?
I have seen success in both ways. So soft rollout, kind of small user groups based on like certain locations
Sure.
or business lines or departments, get the excitement going, and then continuously through the life cycle add more groups into the app. I've seen a lot of success that way, but I also have seen a lot of success with just one big launch for everyone at one time. I think the most pivotal aspect on your launch is your kind of pre-launch marketing and promotion and excitement and building curiosity. That's what's really going to get your launch going.
Yeah.
And your launch is always going to be your big push, kind of your, here it is, it's
Yeah.
out and ready. And if you don't have strong numbers on launch, it can be really hard to recoup those numbers throughout the year. So it's really important. The pre-launch marketing promotion is pivotal to have a good adoption rate when you launch.
What are some of the tactics that you've seen that have been wildly successful?
Yes, so I have customers who throw events to build curiosity. So they figure out top of the list once they kind of come over to customer success, they want to work on their naming and their branding because that's how they're going to start promoting it.
Sure.
This could be mailers directly to the users' homes. This could be signature, your branding. I've seen admins have their branding and the signature of their emails, promoting the app that way. Free stuff. People love free stuff, free food, prizes,
Yeah.
kind of building the curiosity of what's to come. And also, while yes, you can build curiosity and it's great, you also want to make sure that what you're building is valuable to your end users.
Of course.
Sometimes people can miss the mark on that. They're very focused on kind of the top-down news. Like they want to make sure corporate's connected with the non-desk workers and leadership's connected with the non-desk workers. But employee-driven content is where you're going to get the most value, where you're going to get the highest adoption. And in the greater picture, be able to feel the return of your investment. And feel like you've purchased a valuable product and you're gaining value out of it.
And while you're going through this life cycle, do you find that that return starts to be recognized when people are starting to see engagement numbers and metrics and such and things like that, or is there something else?
It's completely dependent on how the customer views the success of the product. It could be quantitative. It could be strictly the metrics. They have 80% adoption, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So it could be quantitative or it could be qualitative. Maybe they have a leadership section and now the employees are super excited because they're engaging with leadership. And so maybe the adoption's 40-50%. But the activity of the customer or the activity of the employees that are in the app, that can be a success as well.
Right. Because they're engaging and communicating with leadership where otherwise they had almost no communication with, if ever.
Right. And I do see that as kind of, that's a typical business goal for customers when they come over to Staffbase is a connection with leadership, which can be done in a variety of different ways with a product.
Enjoying the podcast? I hope so. If you'd like to learn more about Staffbase, go to staffbase.com and click on Schedule a Demo. And now back to the show.
In your experience, so you had the kickoff call, and then months go by, weeks go by, whatever it may be, depending on how long it's going to take to get the app ready to go, and now it's launch day. So those folks that you got to meet for the first time at that kickoff call, what do you see more often in terms of their perspective of what they're expecting has changed from that first kickoff call to the day of launch?
Mostly it's a huge sigh of relief that we've reached the launch.
Okay, that's fair.
Just because there's so many tasks to do in the project and you're relying on so many different departments. And in some senses, it could be like herding cats, trying to get everybody in line to do things. I mean, that's like project management 101 anyways.
Yeah.
So it's always a huge relief, sigh of relief when you get to launch. But just knowing that you have to kind of pick that back up again, and that's not where it's dropped off. And I think that customers get really excited that they launch, and it's kind of like a short-term excitement because maybe a couple weeks go by, and then they think, oh, well, that was really great, but now wait, our adoption hasn't gone up and it's been a couple weeks since launch, like what's going on? And then they think, okay, now what do I do here? And that's where it's important to do the ongoing promotion of the app, consistent content, always make sure your content's valuable to your end user. You always want to have your end user in mind, even when it comes to just structuring content and updating content and pushing out content.
Have you found that giving employees the capability to post be more effective than having it a little bit locked down, or?
Absolutely, 100%. Something I always push for every customer is to have some sort of social engagement in your app, because that's what really drives not only adoption but activity. So adoption could mean you have 80% of your employee base registered, which is great. But also registration could mean they signed in once because it was the launch date and then they never launched the app again.
Yeah.
So what you really want to look at is your activity, like how often your users come back in the app. And to do that, it's always great to have a social aspect.
Yeah.
So it could be a social wall where people are having their own updates. I know that sometimes that's a little bit hard to get past for compliance reasons and things like that. So you can have some sort of permission change log available, anything to get user stories, recognition, fun stuff, pets, babies, Blackboard, buy and sell. You could have open groups for runners, for bikers. Like these are the types of things that employees love to see and interact with.
So that I can see that being really successful. So at the one hand, you have this ability to feel connected to your organization.
Right.
So yeah, you can do the baby pictures, the bike groups, the things of that nature. But that's where that reliance and anticipation to use the desire to use the app comes into play. And then if that is successful, my guess is then when the leadership team posts something and uses the push notification or something of that nature, that's when it's so much more effective, because it's a relevant message to me as an employee in this place where I'm already comfortable because I'm engaging on a regular basis.
Absolutely. I mean, relevance is so important. It seems so obvious, like to have relevant content so people come and look at it. But sometimes, that's just not thought of.
Right.
They're more focused on, again, the top-down kind of corporate news. But relevance, a social aspect, and employee resources is another amazing, great way to drive engagement and adoption in the app by kind of killing off all the other available outlets to gain the resources and funneling them through the app. So that could be discount perk programs, that could be benefit information, that could be payroll information, stuff like that.
Well, making that making that accessible in your pocket in a branded application that I know I just have to tap 3 times, tap on the app, tap on resources, and then tap on whichever resource I want. Wildly more easy than either contacting HR, remembering where that onboarding email was, fuddling through maybe a really old, outdated intranet site.
Exactly.
I can see, just having that in your hand is really quite helpful. We were talking in another episode about, deskless workers. So these are drivers, these are field workers, on-site folks that they might actually be more the drivers might be more connected with their spouses to some extent. And if the driver is ill, and knowing that the spouse could pick up that device and instantly have access to those the health benefits, et cetera, if it was necessary, emergency numbers, things like that, that's pretty powerful.
It is. It really is. And to have the availability of the web app and the mobile app, obviously our big focus is the mobile app, non-desk workers. That's kind of our bread and butter.
Yeah.
But having kind of the one-to-one pairing with the web app works really well with desktop workers as well.
Yeah.
So it's cool to have, both sides of it.
Mm-hmm. And it seems, do you find that because our focus is on the app itself, and then it is available also on the web and not the other way around, do you find that the easeability is adopted better, or?
Yeah, I mean, to have the information that you need available in a few clicks, whether it's mouse clicks or finger touches on your device, especially when the layout and the structure of it is all the same.
Right.
Makes it so much easier.
Right.
Imagine if you're out on the field and you need to find information your truck driver, and you need to find information about a specific location regarding the security to get into the location and things like that. And the app has information, and you're in your truck and you can do click, 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 you're there. And then to have the desktop aspect of that, say you call into your manager and your manager pulls it up, it's the same workflow. It's not multiple different programs, different tools, trying to search here and search there and try to find. It's quite easy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Enjoying the podcast? I hope so. If you'd like to learn more about Staffbase, go to staffbase.com and click on Schedule a Demo. And now back to the show.
So, okay, when you're talking to folks in the internal communications realm, and this, I imagine when organizations are going through this, especially for internal communications, this is kind of life-changing in terms of their job and like how they're able to communicate successfully. Yeah. At the same time, it's almost like they turn into marketers, right? Or PR specialists.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are some of your, if you can think off the top of your head here, I'm kind of going a little bit off script, but I'm curious if you've have any good use cases where you've seen someone go, wow, they got it, and they saw where that success can come from by changing that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. I mean, majority we're working with internal comms people. They may have a marketer available to them to maybe like spin an icon up or something they might need, but it's really on them.
Yeah.
And it's great. I have a healthcare client. She's internal comms director, but she really put her PR marketing hat on. They have like 90% adoption.
Wow.
Super high activity, so that's users continuously coming in the app. And she did like she had a full plan laid out ahead of her before even the kickoff. T-shirts, events, prizes, mailers, emails. They configured the web app to be the main desktop browser when users go and click on like shared terminals and things like that. So she really went like a full 360 thinking about how she can get everybody into the app.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And she got what she wanted. So it was a good return on that investment for her.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it gives you a completely new way of communicating. I mean, my assumption here is that a lot of the people that we talk to, right, mass emails, even bulletin boards to some extent, or mailing, like physical mail, was the way to figure out a scalable way to communicate to 5 to 10,000 people. And then this application instantly can give you access to everybody. So it just shifts the whole frame of mind of how you're going to communicate.
Yeah.
And how do I do it so that it fits in with that social element, so that people want to be engaged, they want to be excited to communicate and share thoughts and find little user groups that they can, I didn't even know Tony in Chicago biked as well. That's great, those types of things. And having those human moments where they feel truly connected regardless of how many miles separate them.
Yeah.
Or where they rank in the organization,
I
think that's cool.
I actually have a great story that you reminded me of. Talking about mass mailers and inboxes full of emails you could never catch up on. I went and visited a client last year, and they are in logistics. So all of their non-desk workers are truck drivers.
Yeah.
And I went to visit, and I wanted to see kind of how everything was laid out. They have really great adoption with the app. And their end users they're not millennials. They're just blue collar workers. Some of them probably had a flip phone up until like 2 years ago. So they're not, tech savvy people, and they're busy with their lives and their work and their job and their trucks. So went and visited, and it was great because he showed me around their main office, and he showed me how they used to communicate to their truck drivers, which was one of those giant mail slots where everybody had their name tag, and they would just throw paper
Wow.
documents and mail slots, and the truckers would come through the headquarters to get gas or
Wow.
maintenance and pick up their mail slots.
So it would be like Jerry Maguire putting in
Yes.
his little like ultimatum document.
Yeah,
dossier.
it was so cool. It was so cool because he was like, yeah, this is our old app basically. this is what we used to do. So that was really awesome. And
great.
again, going back to like the idea of the workers being, just blue collar, not super into the technology. They've adopted the app and they love it, and they actually call my point of contact, who's the administrator of the app. They call him by the app name. So we walk around the office and everybody's yelling, "Hey, Flipper!" Like his name. It's funny. Yeah, it's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like that is such a relevant example of why this social element is so important, right?
Yeah.
I think it's important to go back to that social part of it, because we're not trying to, these organizations are not trying to just simply replicate and latch onto what is Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. When the word social can get a little confusing. Social meaning interaction and communicating in a very personal, local, and relevant way. And I think that's, when you send out the mailer to 10,000 people versus being able to isolate a message specifically to folks in one region, folks in another region, and then, be able to prevent other groups from seeing a message that is not relevant to them.
Exactly.
That kind of governance really helps a lot with the conversation. And I get excited thinking about the folks that you're working with having that light bulb go off and go, wait, I can do that?
Yeah, no, I mean, targeted content is a big use case for almost every customer across every single industry.
Yeah.
And the app can get really granular when it comes to targeting. And this, again, high adoption, high activity with relevant information. Top-down corporate news, always important because you want to make sure all your employees are connected. But location news, parking updates, weather reports, traffic reports, local discounts, these are the things that users really love to see.
Yeah.
And to have it all in one place and really easy to find. It's a no-brainer.
We were also talking a more tragic example, but is crisis, when there's emergency alerts and things of that nature. Wow, how powerful it is to be able to give a warning in advance and share people don't come to the office, stay home, go to the shelter, etc. Or even something as simple as the emergency exit on the second floor of this specific office, send that message out just to that office. Hey, heads up, that door is blocked off. If you need to leave, go the other way. Those types of things.
Very, very, very relevant. Safety alerts, crisis alerts, the push notification makes it like pivotal, immediate, right there for you. So definitely another highly used use case.
Great. Well, then, I think just to wrap it up, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, if there's one thing about success that you've seen where you're like, okay, I'm going to put a big check next to that box that you have seen, what is the most, the highest rated success example that you could think of?
Like specific customer, or are you saying just like
in general,
points?
the folks that you work with, you don't have to mention customers, that's fine. Just like, you're like, okay, 9 out of 10 times, if they get this one thing right.
It's always going to be the relevant content, the valuable content, and that sounds vague because it is vague, because it's different across industries. It's different. Companies in the same industry have different cultures, so it's about the culture of your employees, the industry of your employees, the age group of your employees. So relevance, value, and consistently updating content. Users will not go back if it's always stale content. Old schedules, old policies, news channels from 6 months ago, like, not good. So relevance, value, and consistently updating and pushing out content.
Excellent. Heather, this has been so helpful. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Thank
Good
you.
luck.